In this video, we're going to talk about formatting cell text, which is one of the topics in Module 2. Later, I'm going to create another video on formatting numbers, and then we'll also talk about alignment, borders, merging cells, and indenting. So to get started, I'm on the documentation page that the book has you, on the workbook that the book has you download. So we're going to start up here with Bristol Bay in cell A1. And I think after some jumping around, they have you make this be a Calibri Light font. So on the home ribbon, you have a font group, and right now we're going to play with a few of these buttons right up here. So I'm going to make this Calibri Light, and then they want it to be like a 28-point font. And then I think on A2, we're going to leave it the Calibri, but we're just going to make it 16 points. So I can now hit that. Make it 16. These two buttons to the right are increase and decrease. So whether you hit this drop down arrow or just go, oh, I want to make it one smaller or one bigger, you can hit either of those buttons. Finally, talking about font colors. So I've selected that cell. I can now grab this. This list of colors are based on the theme that you've chosen, so we're going to go over in a minute and take a look at themes. But I think in the book maybe they choose this light blue, one of the standard colors down here, or you can choose a color based on the theme. And notice you got a live preview as you bounce around. It will change the color so you can see what it looks like before you actually click on it. So we'll do that, and we can do it to this cell also. Once you've chosen it once, it stays as the last selected color. So now all you have to do is hit the A, and it'll apply that color to that cell. If you don't like what you've done, of course you can hit Control Z is undo. Up here you have an undo button. You can back out of those colors. If you liked what you did, you can come down here and hit it again. The other thing I want to mention, if you want to get rid of all the different formatting, meaning the fonts that you've selected, the colors, any kind of bordering or fills, right over here is the clear button. And I don't want to get rid of the contents, right? That would be the actual words inside the cell. So clear contents or clear all would get rid of the words, but clear formats would just clear out all of the formats, and now you're back to what it was originally. So now if I want to fix it, I'll make them both Calibri Light this time, and I'll make them both blue. I only want this one to be 28, so I'll select cell A1, make it 28, and I'll select cell A2 and make it 16 to get us back to where we were. The interesting thing is I can select cell A1, and if I double click, it puts me into edit mode, and I can just grab the word bay, and now this little tool tip, if you will, pops up, and I can change the font color of that word to maybe green. I can make that word bold. I could have also done it back here in the font group on the home ribbon. So you can actually make some changes to pieces of words within a cell. The only hiccup with doing that is when I go to clear formats, it doesn't clear the format on that one particular word. What you'd probably have to do at this point is just delete the whole contents of the cell and then retype it if you wanted that to be different. So let me undo again and see if we can't get back to what we had before. Now let's talk about themes for a minute, and that's under the page layout group. So basically what themes do is provide a group of fonts and colors so that your workbook looks consistent all throughout. So you come up with a theme, and let's run over real quick before we do this. Notice the colors we have here. You got some grays, a couple blues, orange, yellow, and then finally a green one. If I run over to page layout, and before I do, also let's take a look at the fonts. Notice the theme fonts are Calibri Light and Calibri. Okay, so I'm running over to page layout, and I'm going to change the theme to say Ione. I'll click on that. When I run back to the home group, notice what the themes did. Now there's Century Gothic for the fonts, and if I were to take a look at the colors, I've got purple and some whatever aquamarine or teals, and still have some grays. The standard colors are still here, but that's what themes do for you. They provide you a set of fonts and colors so that your entire document will have a consistent layout. If you only want to change the colors, so for instance, I'm okay with my own theme, but I want a different color palette, well then you can also click on this color and choose a different color palette, so maybe red violet. Now when I run to home and hit this, this is the red violet color palette, but my fonts are still the Century Gothic. And the same thing, I could change, rather than the colors, I could change the fonts to a particular set of fonts in a theme. So that's what themes are doing for you. That's fairly handy. And now let's go take a look at cell styles. Kind of like themes, cell styles are predefined formats that you can just click on and it'll do all of those formats for whatever cells you have selected. So again, they're on the home ribbon, and now you have a whole group here called styles. So I think your book has you take this particular cell B4, and we're going to apply the title style, which is right here. There's also the heading style. You can play with these also and see the different what they look like. So maybe just for fun we'll go with the heading 1 style, and notice they match the color coordination here is matching to the theme that we have selected. So I'll choose the heading 1 style. You can also, for instance, I think your book will, here they apply the accent 4 style. So that's right down here, and it's going to change the font to white, the background color to green accent 4. So you just click on that. I very often will use the total style on a total row. So just to demonstrate that, I am going to take these cells and clear the format so you can see the effect. And notice all the formats left, so even the number format, which we'll talk about in another video. But the point I want to make is I have this item sold line selected, and I'm going to run over here and grab the total style. So that puts a single border on top, a double border underneath, and makes it all bold. So I use these styles quite a bit because it's just a quick way to have some predefined formatting. You just select the cell and choose a style and you're good to go. That's cell styles. The next thing I want to mention is the format painter. I use this quite a bit also. If you've formatted something in a way that you like, you can select that format and then apply it to other cells. So for instance, notice this your Bristol Bay, your value store here is back to kind of a smaller font, no color. I can run to this documentation page. I will select these 2 cells and click the format painter 1 time. So notice my cursor now is a paintbrush. I can run over to sales report and grab both of those and it'll apply it. Now what it didn't apply is because that funky, we custom edited this to be that one green color, whatever color that was. It must have been this one. Anyway, click on that. So it didn't apply that format because that was a format really of the word, not necessarily of the cell. Format painter is formatting the cells. So notice this line down here has the red font and this one up here has the white. So I can just grab that, hit format painter, and then click across here and that'll change all those fonts to red. So it's a real fast way to apply formats that you've set up to a big group of cells. And the other kind of interesting thing, I'm just looking for an example. Well, I'll just use this as my example. So I'm going to grab that format. I double click on Format Painter, and what it does is it turns it on so that now I can format multiple times. I can paint multiple times. So not that this makes any sense to do it to this group, but I can click on that. It makes it green red. I can click on this one. It also makes it green red. I can click on this one. It makes it green red. You get the idea. If you double click on the Format Painter, it leaves it on so that you can format multiple cells. If you only click on Format Painter 1 time, you can only paint 1 time. And the last thing I'll mention in this video is something they do in the book is add a background image to their documentation sheet. So I'll click on this, and that's going to be under the page layout group. Next to right here is your themes. Background image is under the page setup. So I'll click on that. If you have a particular file, you can browse for that. You can also do a Bing image search. So you can search for something in particular. if you just click on this, it'll come up with a list and that's categorized. And so now I could maybe just choose, let's go with an autumn kind of theme, and I'll put that in and hit insert. And so it puts that theme, it copies it across. Be careful with background images. A lot of times people are wanting to print your worksheets, and a background image can make it dark and hard to read. And so they demonstrate how to do it. I don't know if I recommend it all that often, especially if it's a sheet that you may end up printing. And that's it for formatting cells.